we'll be doing the meditation. Okay? So let's start. So reincarnation. So today's topic is reincarnation. So first of all, as you know, we are all spirits, not the body or the mind. Now, how do we prove that we are a spirit, not the body or the mind? We prove it. What happens at the time of the death? Our soul or spirit leaves the body, and the body is the same body which is walking and talking few minutes back is now absolutely still. It cannot move. It has no life in it. So what happened? The soul left the body. So if we were body, we would also go with the soul, or the body should go also. But we are not the body. It cannot move without the energy or without the spirit. So is that spirit or soul is the energy that makes the body and the mind also work. Similarly, for the mind, how do you prove that we are not the mind? At the time of sleeping, or even during the meditation, or in coma, the mind is asleep. In the deep sleep also, the mind is completely asleep. It's kind of dead, but still we are alive. We are not dead. We are not pronounced dead. So we are not the mind, because if we were the mind, when the mind is sleeping, we should also be declared dead, but that doesn't happen. So we are not the body, we are not the mind, but we are the spirit that makes the body and the mind work. Now, regarding the reincarnation, can you all please mute on your sides so that when we have to, just mute on your sides, everybody, please mute all. Okay, I did mute. Okay, I did it. Thank you. Okay, so regarding the, as I said, regarding the reincarnation. Now, what is reincarnation? Reincarnation, as Rani ji just told us, is that it is the soul coming back in a different form, in a different body. So, reincarnate. Incarnate is to manifest, to come back or take a birth. And re means again. So, again taking birth in another form or another body. That is reincarnation. Now, why, regarding the reincarnation now, how do we prove that soul does reincarnate? What are the points through which we can prove that the soul is not just leaving for heaven and hell, as some of the religions believe? We are in fact coming back into another form or a different body. So how do we prove that? So the first point is, if you look at the children when they are born, have you noticed the two children, if you look at two children also, how different they are? They are not alike, not only in their looks, but even in their behavior. Some of children are colic, some are always smiling, some are peaceful. They're all very different, even as just a newborn baby also. If you look at their behavior, their mannerism, they're all different from each other. They're not the same. So why are they different? They're different because of they have different natures. Now, where did they acquire that nature, and when did they acquire that nature? That is another question, right? So it has to be that they acquired the same kind of a nature or habits or behavior, or you could say psychic impressions, or even the likes and dislikes of the children. They are all acquired at some past life. Right? It cannot be done at this life because they are just born, maybe a month old or maybe a 2 months old, and they did not have too much of time to acquire anything. Secondly, look at the babies when two children are born. Now, if you look at the disparities in this world, how people are different, even in their financial matters, in their culturally. If you look at health-wise, some children, when they are born, they are very healthy. Some are born with some disease or without some leg or arms or hands, health-wise. Then there is a lot of disparity in financial positions. Like some are born into rich parents and some are born into the poor parents. Then again, in the different cultures. Now, why is it happening and how is it happening and who is deciding which soul is going to go where? So you think God decides? A lot of people will say God decides. God decides who's going to be born at which place. But that would make God very partial, because if a child who's born in rich, that means God loves him more, and the child who's born to a poor family, or or who's not healthy, is not liked or loved by God. Is that so?
Do you
So
want
we
us to
cannot.
really oh, I didn't know if
Yes,
you really wanted us
yes,
to answer, do you?
yes. Why not?
Some people might say the one who was born poor was the one who got the blessing. So it depends on how you look at it in a way. That's what came to my mind.
Yes,
Also, I think it's a combination of your soul and elders.
yes. We will discuss that point also. But from the point of view of God's point of view, we are all His children, and He loves everyone equally. That's what we are told in every religion, right? So if He loves everybody equally, how can He give one child so much of wealth and the other child poverty? So it is not that we cannot say that the God is discriminating us, or he doesn't love us and he loves the other person more. So he is not discriminating. He's not partial to anybody. He loves us all equally. In fact, God is the energy that has created the whole universe, and it is in everything and every way. And we are a part of that same energy. So basically, he has no say in our birth. But what happens? Who has the say? There has to be some factors that is creating this disparity. And those factors, when were they? If this is our first time birth, and also the last birth, then when did those factors come in? Who created those factors on the basis of which one child is born poor and the other is born rich, or the one is unhealthy and one is healthy, or
Well,
one is in
don't
a
we
Hindu or one is Muslim? Yes, yes.
don't we have that? Aren't we a creation of that? You know, we're the main component in that choosing, or no?
Yes, we are the main component in choosing also, but also there are some other factors that create that differences. And those factors are our past karmic obligations, karmic factors, our desires. So these, and likes and dislikes, these create our where we are born. This will this decides how and what we are going to take, which kind of a body, in which family, what kind of circumstances is going to be. So all these disparities are happening because there was a life at the back when we did some karmic obligations. When did we create those karmic obligations? In a previous life. So if there was a previous life, that means that shows that there is a reincarnation happening. That there is, people are not just getting, this is not our first life and this is not even our last life. Our soul is traveling from one birth to another, from one life to another. So this travel is happening. This proves that the travel is happening. Now, how, as I said, who creates it is on the basis of our karmic obligations. So if we did whatever on the karmic obligations, if we were very, that's another topic basically, how it's deciphered, how it is decided. Like if we are very generous in this lifespan and we are sharing our wealth given by the nature to us, then in the future also when we come back, that will be given back. So every action has to have a reaction. And when action is done and the reaction is yet to be coming back to us, then that is the reaction that will come back to us in the next life. So that's how we are creating the karmic obligations. Not only obligations towards others, but the obligations owed to us by the others and by the nature. So that's how we are making those karmic obligations. And then our likes and dislikes, our whatever we prefer, our desires, unfulfilled desires create all these differences. What kind of a body we want, what kind of a family we need to fulfill our desires. So that is how we are creating our life, this life. But this proves that there was a life before, and there is going to be it's a continuing cycle. It's going to be a life afterwards also. So the reincarnation is truth. It's not just the figment of our imagination. So this is the second point. Then the third point is, of course, have you seen your fears and phobias? A lot of people have fears and phobias, right? Some people are fearful of water. Some are fearful of dogs, animals. Could be any kind of a phobia or fear that you have. Now, when did you create those fears and phobias? Especially even as a small child who is just born. Even that child, he's colic. Why is he crying so much? What is he fearing of? There has to be some reason for all that. And when did we create those fears and phobias? So there has to be a life before when we created those fears and phobias. Because if you are just born, or even if you are 2 years old, you cannot remember, or you did not have a chance to create that fear unless you went through that experience and it got registered in our mind. That fear cannot be created. Okay, so for example, fear of fire. Now, a small child, have you seen? They would not know what the fire is. They would go and poke their finger into the fire very easily. And then once they are starting to get burned, they will immediately pull it back. Now, next time, if you go and tell him to go near the fire, will he go back? No, because now he's had the experience that fire can burn. So it will never go back. So that experience got registered in his mind, in his subconscious mind. And as a result, now he knows that fire is not something to play with. You have to be away from the fire. So this kind of an experience, our soul, when it goes through different experiences, it gets registered in our mind. And that's how we create those fears and phobias in our mind. But that has to be done in the previous life. And that's why we are carrying it in this life. So basically, those fears and phobias also prove that there was a life before when we created those fears and phobias for us. Okay? Then number 4. Now the fourth point to say that it does exist is, have you seen gay men and lesbians? How are the gay men and lesbians different? And why are they different from us? Because of the sexual preferences, of course, right? But why would they, being a man, why would they prefer another man? Or being a woman, why would they prefer another woman rather than a opposite sex?
Maybe they were very anti gay, lesbian in their past life, and maybe they did something, really hurtful.
No, it's just like whatever is registered in your mind. I just explained, right? So what happens is when you like something very much, it gets registered in your mind. For example, you like chocolate ice cream, not the vanilla. So as soon as you think of ice cream, what comes up? I want chocolate ice cream, not the vanilla. Or I don't like mango ice cream. I like chocolate. So when did you register this? With your likes and dislikes. It got registered in your mind, and now it's stored in the mind, that information. And whenever you want, you can access it, right? So whenever you think of ice cream, actually, it will come up automatically. So similarly, with the gay men and women, what happens is that maybe in the last 5 lives, he was a man. The soul was in a man's body. So being in a man's body, who are you attracted to? A woman. Okay. So now what do you like? You like woman. And now you acquired the habit of whistling. Whenever the woman is passing by, you whistle. Now, okay. So now that's another habit that is so whenever you see a beautiful woman passing by, you're whistling. Now in this lifespan, you decided that you want to be, in this life, however, you decided that you want to be a woman's body. You do not want to be in the man's body. You want to have a different experience. So when you chose a woman's body, you became a woman, but now what are your habits, and still what is the information stored in your mind is that you still like woman. And you still like to whistle when the woman passes by. So you're still attracted to the woman. It doesn't matter what kind of a body you are in right now. It is the fact is that the information stored in your mind is that you like woman and you like to whistle whenever a beautiful woman is passing by. And that's what's happening. So now you are labeled as gay or a lesbian. But what does it matter? It's still a soul and it's still on its journey, and its likes and dislikes may be different, but it doesn't matter. It's not that being labeled as gay or lesbian is anything less than being a normal. It's just another preference. Just like you like chocolate ice cream, the Rani ji may like vanilla ice cream, somebody else may like strawberry ice cream. But that doesn't mean one is better than the other. Everybody is the same and everybody is equal. It's just the preference. So similarly, gay men and women also prove that their preferences of the sexual sex is also on the basis of the past lives. So they had to have a past life when the impression was formed, and that's why they are what they are right now. Whatever their liking is right now is on the basis of their past experiences and the past information stored in their subconscious mind. Okay? So that is the fourth example of why, a point of why you can prove that reincarnation does exist. Then the fifth point. Have you seen child prodigies? Child prodigies? Mm-hmm. Yes. A lot of you must have heard, some children less than 5 years can recite Gita or Shlokas, or they can play a piano like a maestro, or they can sing so well without having learned. Or some children are born as mathematicians. Yeah. So you have heard of a lot of child prodigies. Now, when did these children get to learn? They are less than 5 years old, and yet they have all the information that you and I struggle to acquire it, but still they have it. So when did they get that information stored in their mind? So that information was also stored in their mind from the last lives. So that means that is another proof that the reincarnation does exist. It is not our figment of our imagination. Okay? Okay. So then that's a fifth point. Now, sixth point. The DNA, all our cells, we are all different from each other because our DNA is also different from each other. DNA is the map. It is the map of how each and every cell in our body is going to be created. And in every cell, there is a DNA and there's a protein factor, amino acid. So on the basis of the DNA, that is the map, every cell creates from the protein, it creates a cell. And the combination of these cells creates the tissues, and then it creates the bones and our different systems in the body, as well as the whole body is created with those combination of all the cells. Now, when in our DNA, you could say that almost 30 to 40% of our DNA is created by our mother and father. That is the sperms and the serum. Yes, the man and the woman's sperms, they create the child. So on 40%, if it is created by the mother and father, that means 40% of their habits and their nature is taken up by the child, from the mother and father. Rest 60% or 70% is coming from our own likes and dislikes, our own what we wanted to desire, and on the basis also of karmic factors. So, for example, if I hurt somebody who was very fat last life, and the action happened, now the reaction is that you have to experience how being fat hurts. in order to finish off that karmic obligation. So now you want to take that up body so that you can experience it and also finish up the cycle of that karmic karma that we did in the past, knowingly or unknowingly. So there are karmic factors involved. There are our likes and desires. We want to see ourselves as in this kind of a body. And also, what are our unfulfilled desires left? Like I wanted to be an actor, so I want to go into a family where the mother and father are actors and they can help me achieve my desire, fulfill my desire. So this is on the basis of that. As I said, 40% DNA and habits and likes and dislikes are required from the mother and father, but 60% are our own. And when did we create those 60%? That again happened in the last life. Okay. So that's another point of proof that the reincarnation does happen. It is not just our imagination. Also in the University of Pennsylvania, there has been a study going on and they have looked at children under 5 years who can remember their past lives. So they have been studying this reincarnation aspect topic, and they have found at least 300 or more children they have done the study on, who could remember, they were all under 5 years, and they could remember their past lives. And not only remember that, they physically took them to those spots where they were born in the last lives, and whatever they told, whatever they could remember, they could verify it physically in this life. So there have been verifiable records of reincarnated children. And that has been done by the University of Pennsylvania. And it's still going on. Anytime they see a child who can verify its past lives, they want to study it and go and verify it.
Can you give us some references on these studies that we can
As I said, you can Google it. It's University of Pennsylvania which is doing it on reincarnation. Okay?
University of Pennsylvania. Thanks.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes, yes. Okay, so that's another proof. Those 300 children at least that I read of, that was like 4 or 5 years back. It may be more now, than where the children could prove literally that they were born in this area, in this house. This was their house number, this was their mother and father, and they were the father of this child, and the child is still living. So they could prove everything physically, and they were taken to those parts and they could verify it. So they were verifiable records of reincarnated children.
Madhu, can I say, I put it in the chat, but in case somebody doesn't notice it, they actually made a documentary and they show the real kids talking about it, and they even bring you to those places. I think it's Amazon, but you could Google it and find out. And
do you know the really name interesting. Of the documentary?
No.
Okay, but you can Google
if you could Google television series with children and past lives, and then read, because a bunch of stuff might come up, but you'll know it's credible. You'll intuitively know when you see.
Yes.
And it might be Amazon, but anyway, it was really interesting.
The documentary is also made in Amazon, so you could Google it.
And it's with the real people, the real children,
the real children,
and parents and doctors.
So that's also another proof that the reincarnation does exist. Okay. Then another point is through religions. Now, if you know, I think only I know as I'm aware of, I think Christianity and Islam are, I think, the only two religions, or maybe there are some other few religions, because there's so many religions, diversified parts of different religions. But these two religions, they do not believe in the incarnation. Now, let me explain why is that. Now, in case of Christianity, Lord Jesus, as you know, was only preaching for last 3 years. For 3 years of his life, he only preached from 30 to 33, and then he was crucified. So he did not have much time to preach. It's not that he did not have the knowledge of reincarnation, because if you do have self-realization experience, you do get all the information. And it is with everybody the same information. It's not different for one and to the other. So he did get the information because he did have the experience. And but he did not have time to share it. And in that time, when he was there, it was more important to focus on the problems of the present life rather than previous or the future life. And with such a short span of teachings that he could do, and that too among a very few people, it was only later on, once he was gone, that his disciples actually created this this religion. But otherwise, he was not the one who did not understand it. He did not have time to explain it. Okay. And Islam is also something which was, I don't know much about Islam, but I think that, so I cannot talk about Islam because I don't have much knowledge about Islam. But I know about Christianity, that Lord Jesus did not have much time to explore it and actually convey his views on that. Okay. But these are there is only these two religions of which I know of who do not believe in reincarnation. Rest of all the religions like Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism, any other religion that has come out of Hinduism, they do follow and believe in reincarnation. Yes,
maybe
Alyssa, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, maybe Allah didn't get self-realized.
No, I think it's not about the Allah. Allah is the God, and it is only one God. It's just one energy. It is the person Muhammad.
Yeah, Muhammad
created this. The founder of the religion has to have go through the experience, and I don't know much about him, so I cannot say whether he did go through the self-realization experience or was he still searching. Whatever it is, I cannot talk about it since I'm not aware of it. But I know this much, that about Jesus, I've read that he did do a lot of meditation in Himalayas, and he did have the experience. And then after that, he was told to go and preach where he came from, and he started preaching, but he only had 3 years to preach. So before he was crucified. So he did not have much time to give all the information, but that does not mean that it was not there. Also, over the times, if you see, even in a Jewish book, the Torah, if you see in the olden Torahs, I know it definitely that they do believe in reincarnation. And over the years, as I was saying also, the religious books have changed. A lot of the information in the books have changed, because as the years have passed by, over the thousands of years, a lot of information got erased, a lot of information was added, which was not correct. So it is not exactly the same as was started by the founder of every religion. Okay, but reincarnation is a subject which is quite true. It's very true, and a lot of religions do believe in it. Okay. Also, in our Vedas and Vedantas, the soul's journey. Now, the soul's journey is also proclaimed that it is not coming, it is not the first life, it is coming from the life before, and it is going to go on continuing. It is said that when the soul leaves the body, the journey is like that when the soul leaves the body, it takes in along with it 4 bodies that we have. Now, we are a soul, we are the energy, we use 5 bodies to have the humanly experience. And those 5 bodies, as we know, is the physical body, the breath body or the etheric body, the astral body or the mental body, then the intellect body or the causal body, and supercausal or the spiritual body. So these are the 5 bodies that we use. So except for the physical body that stays on this planet because it's made of this planet, other 4 bodies, they travel with the soul as the soul leaves for the further journey. So that is why when the soul or the spirit takes on a new body, it automatically, all those other 4 bodies also go along with enter into the new physical body. And that is why every child is different. Every child has its own mind. It has its own intellect body, its own mind. Breath body is there. That means the emotions are there. So emotional body is there, mental body is there, intellect body is there, and so is the spiritual body. So these 4 bodies they go along with they are called an antakara, which is, as I said, the prana, the mind, the intellect, buddhi, and the memories, and the spiritual body, which is the ananda body, which is the blissful body or the spiritual body. So these bodies go along with every soul as you leave the body and enter into the new body. It is attached to the soul. And the purpose of the soul, or the purpose of taking a new body, is to get rid of these 4 bodies and vibrate at its purest form of spiritual energy, which is 100% frequency, which is the God's energy. So basically, we are Aham Brahmasmi, we are the God, and we have to raise our energy to go and vibrate at 100% frequency and go and merge into that God's frequency or energy. And that will only happen when there are 2 energies merging at the same level. Then only one you can easily merge into the other. But when there's even a difference, a little bit of difference up and down between the vibrational frequency, you cannot merge. So you have to raise it all the way to the 100% purity. And that is why we say we are Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivoham. We are that God ourselves. We are the God, and a God. And it says Shuddhoham, Buddhoham, Muktoham, Nityoham. Shuddhoham means you become as pure to 100% purity. Buddhoham, 100% knowledge. Muktoham, 100% freedom. Freedom from all the vices, freedom from all the desires, freedom from everything that can bind you into this body. And Nityoham, you become woe and merge into that energy and become God yourself. Okay, so that is our basic aim. And there are 3 reasons for every body, for every soul to take birth. And those 3 reasons are, firstly, as I said, our karmic obligations to each other, to other souls, or to the nature itself, lessons that we need to learn and grow. So that is the first one. First reason why we have to come into take a new body. Second reason is our desires, unfulfilled desires that we held. So at the time of leaving the body, if I wanted to be an actor and could not become an actress, now I want to come back and fulfill that desire. Or I wanted to own a Mercedes. I wanted to be a king or a president of America. So to fulfill those desires, we take on the family that will help us to fulfill the desires, and also with whom we have a lot of karmic obligations to complete. So on that basis, we take up the family. So the first is our karmic obligations, second is unfulfilled desires, and third is our ignorance. This knowledge that we are the spirit has to be gained for us to be free of these bodies. For us to rise to 100% frequency, we have to get rid of these 5 bodies. And that can only happen when we understand that we are not these 5 bodies. We are in fact that spirit, that soul that makes these 5 bodies work. Because without our energy, none of these bodies have their own power. And none of these bodies will work for any soul or spirit. And once it is like, carrying the 5 bags at the back of on your back. And you start removing 1 bag, 2 bag, 3 bag. And when you are rid of all the 5 baggages on your back, you can run at the highest speed possible. So for you to be able to vibrate at the highest frequency, you need to get rid of all these 5 bodies. And that is the aim of every soul, every spirit, to take birth. Okay. So now this is the reasons why, or the fact that we can prove that the reincarnation does exist. It is a reality. It is not just our figment of our imagination.